Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to learn about hard disk drive fragmentation. What is fragmentation? What causes it? And how to fix it. So briefly, what is fragmentation? As you can see the name fragment. Fragment is which is like in piece, part of something. And disk fragmentation causes files on your computer to be scattered on different parts of the disk. So for example, you had this is your platter, and a file that's supposed to be really all like that, in contiguous blocks in a track. Over the time, this file, let's say this file was file A, it get really scattered all over the place. Like some file goes over here, some over there, some over there, in all different tracks and blocks and sectors and blocks and stuff like that, right? Now, why it gets scattered like that? The reason is that I'll explain it to you guys. Let me get another picture here. Okay, so here you go. So this is a file, for example. Okay, so we have three files over here, right? Let's say, let me take the tip too small. Okay, red file, and then we have blue file and green file, right? They are some, I don't know, maybe paint.txt and whatever. We're just representing these files with color. So when the disk is empty, see these sectors, and we have these tracks and all these blocks, right? So disk is empty. Whenever the computer writes a file, it writes them into tracks, right? Because the disk is spinning, so it's easier to write it on the track. But over time, what happens, the whole disks get filled with the files. So let's say this whole disk is filled with all different kind of files, and now there's not much room left. So for example, now in this situation, all disk is full, and you have another file which is let's say, we call this file as a E file. So this is E file. E file is, let's say, some 20 blocks big, right? 20 blocks. So how are you gonna find 20 blocks in one track? There's none, right? So E file will go here, part of the file will go here, 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 and the other will be over here, over here, over here, right? So now same file is put on different areas of the hard disk. On top of that, what happens if you, let's say there was a green file over here and you deleted it, some of the part was deleted. So now you have this empty spot. Some other file comes in, a yellow file came in, right? And it was big, so you put some yellow over here, the other yellow goes over here. So do you understand what I'm trying to say here is that, files get scattered all over the place. So when this happens, we call this fragmentation. Here's an example of that. See, it was like this, but then over time, you see the red file got all over the place and blue, and this happens due to when you delete programs on the disk, on the files, or when your files increases in size, you add more pictures, your file, you type more, the file becomes bigger and bigger, and sometimes the next blocks are not available, right? So it causes the disk to be fragmented. Now, why fragmentation is bad? Because the computer has to work more. The hard disk has to spin more. Imagine that if your mother gives you 200 books and say, hey, Abdullah, take these and put it in the bookshelf. You take them to the room and the bookshelf was full. So what did you do? So you put 10 books on the shelf number 1, 20 books on the lower shelf, Then you took another 30 books to under mama's bed, and then other 50 in the basement. Now the next day your mother says, Abdullah, I need those books, bring it back. So now how many places you have to go and collect those books? So this is exactly what happens in fragmentation, that when one file gets scattered all over the place, the disk has to work more. That means that it affects the disk life, reduces, right? And the computer is running all the time, and the computer becomes very slow. Remember this, I'm going to ask this in the questions. In a fragmented state, the computer becomes extremely slow, right? The file's load time increases. It takes long time for a file to load because the computer has to go and collect it from all over the place. So I'll give you a couple of more examples here. Here's another example of right here. See, this is the defragmented stage. Mean given there was no fragmentation. Okay, everything looks so nice. See, all red file is all together in one track, yellow is another track. But then after some time, what happened when you deleted some stuff, more file came, the more file was written, or you deleted some of the yellow, and then really you added some more stuff to the file yellow, and the size increased, and there was not much room into the same track. It had to go elsewhere. So this is what we call fragmented files. See, the yellow is all over the place on the disk. These yellow and these colors are representing files, okay? And so the defragmentation, defragmenter is a program or a software that rearranges the files on the disk. So literally it takes this block, put it in the memory, then take the yellow block, put it here, this goes over there, this comes here. So defragmentation takes a lot of time. Okay, let me see another example. Another good example is here. Okay, this looks like a Rubik's cube. So this was the fragmented. Okay, fragmented. So you had this, let's say, green file and red file and white file. They're all scattered all over the place. But when you did defragmentation, right? In short, we call defrag. When you did the defragmentation program organized all those files together, meaning that the yellow, the blue file, which was one file, it put them all next to each other on the same track. Okay, this is all blue file. Blue is like a file, right? And then the yellow file go on to the next track, and so on and so forth. Okay, here you go. So this was the fragmentation, and like I said, the fragmentation is bad. It causes the computer to become extremely slow. It takes a long time to load the file. It decreases the hard disk